3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, what's up guys? I don't have that much time, so we're just gonna do a quick little beginner's tutorial, and we'll just make something pretty cool. So first, so you have a sphere, and that's in your scene menu right here. So these are all your shapes. So if you want to add a different shape, then you go like this. You can choose one of these shapes. Let's say, for example, a cylinder. And if you want to use it and use all the tools will show up here. So you just validate it. And then all your tools show up. And you can play around with all these tools and kind of see what they do. They're a little bit self-explanatory. Some aren't. Like, there's some that I don't even know what they do. But that's okay. So now we have a cylinder. So let's make this our little table. So first and foremost, we have the little camera here. Make sure you're in orthographic. That'll make it easier to sculpt with. Later on, we can use the correct perspective and all that fun stuff. Also, go to this little sun icon, and I like to use matcap. It's just easier to sculpt with. It's like fake lighting, but it's just easier to see. And of course, you have your little thing where you can see where you are. So we'll put it to the front. This red line is the horizon line, so let's make this our base. So we'll use this green sphere on our gizmo. This is our gizmo, it just moves everything around. So we go to front, and the arrows move it up and down, like so. Let's make it a little bigger, this orange ring. So we'll make it a little bit bigger, maybe we'll shrink it, like so. So we'll do something like that. Okay, so this sphere, let's move this up. Obviously, you tap on a shape, and then you can move it around. I think I want to do some sort of like a little gecko type thing. I'm going to turn off the grid now. We don't need it anymore. I think like some sort of gecko type thing. So maybe we'll use this sphere. This sphere can be the head. I think this will be the head. Let's make it a little bit smaller, and let's zoom in a little bit. Give us a little more space. So this will be the head. I really love, what's that little gecko's name in Frozen? I can't remember right now. But I really like that little gecko. So I'm going to sort of have him in mind. Okay, so we have the sphere. Let's name this head. Oh, I did that a little fast. So here's the sphere. We're going to tap on these 3 dots and then name. And we'll just put head. And this one, we'll just make it the floor, FLR, for floor. Okay, so the body is going to be, let's clone the head and make this the body. So body, and we'll use the gizmo to sort of move it. I'm going to turn it to the left. And we have to figure out like a body for him. So let's kind of smush it down like this. And then let's take this blue and kind of stretch it. So we'll do something like this for now. And he's going to have they kind of have a little bit of a neck too. So maybe we'll move this up a bit. So maybe something like that could work. Let's clone the head again. And let's call this the tail. Okay, so now let's move this back into kind of tail position, and let's shrink it. Okay, let's widen it a little bit too, and we can stretch it with this blue. So we'll stretch it a bit. Okay, so let's make this a little bit more pointy. So I just hit top so it's straight. Notice I'm sort of keeping everything straight. I'm not moving anything to the left and right. I want to keep this like center line right down the center. I want to keep that for now. Another thing that I always do is I go to symmetry and I put in show line. So then you can see your symmetry line. So if we go in, you can see this red line. So that just shows your symmetry. So if you turn symmetry on here, or if you're using a tool and you turn symmetry on here, that just means anything you do on this side will happen to the other side. So that's all symmetry is. And you can change this. If you wanted to do this side and this side, you would just change it accordingly. Just go to your symmetry menu here, and you can change it to green. and then you'd be able to see the green, that's top and bottom, and so on. The X is the default, so we'll just leave it at the default for now. But it's very useful, you know, especially when you do shapes like arms, eyes, legs, things where there's two of them. Symmetry will save you so much time. And there's mirroring too, so we'll probably do mirroring when we get to the eyes and stuff like that. But anyway, so let's stretch this out. Let's use move. We'll make it kind of big. And move is great for moving like a shape, but keeping it sort of, maintaining it being smooth. Drag is more like if I was going to do something really small, like if I wanted to pull out little sections to kind of make a pattern or something, I'd probably use drag. Move is kind of like the whole thing moves and it's nice and smooth, and it tries to keep it just as smooth as possible. Make it a little smaller so the end of the tail will be a little bit sharper, like that. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Maybe I'll widen out the base a little bit. So sort of like that, I think is pretty good. I'm gonna use my gizmo, and actually no, I think that's fine for now. It's like a little tadpole almost. So we're just blocking out shapes. So of course we're gonna have to shape the tail and all that stuff, but we're just blocking stuff out for now. I'm gonna move it down a little bit. Okay, so now let's go back to the front. So let's do some arms. And we could use the tube tool. Do I want to use the tube tool? Or is a tube tool a bit confusing? I think we'll just do... let's try the tube tool out. So the tube tool is right here. We'll use path. If there's something shows up, which it might not for you, just hit path again. It'll go away. So just path. And then we're just going to tap on the screen. You can drag. You'll see these nodes show up. So then you can lift off the screen. And then you can place another one down here. So now we can let it go. Before you move anything around, just hit this green dot. And this probably won't be where you want it. If you turn it, obviously we don't want them to have weird crustacean arms. So we'll just kind of move these nodes around until they're the position we want. So maybe something like this. We'll bring this one up into the body. Whoop, spitting on the screen. Bring this one up into the body, and we'll bring this down like so. Okay, so let's hit radius once. So now there's two nodes. So let me go back to the beginning. By default, you have one node, which means the whole thing gets bigger or smaller. Two, it's both sides. So if you wanted this side to be bigger and this side to be smaller, you can do that. And then all three is you can just adjust as many nodes as you have. If you have more, you can adjust them each individually. All right, so I think we'll do 3. And now we have to just figure out a shape for his little arms. Firstly, I think, obviously, I don't know if they have elbows per se, but so I'm going to bend this back a little bit just to give it like a little bend. You can kind of just see the shapes that I have. I want this to go into the body completely. Let's move it. Yeah, let's move it over like that. There we go. But I still want this to be moved back some. Yeah, I just want that to be going back. And maybe we'll move the whole thing up. So you can always use the gizmo. And it might be like, it's sort of difficult to just move this arm straight this way. But here's a little trick. If you use a line will line things up with your project. So with our project, see how this is left and this is front. So when you hit align, it aligns with the project. So this will always be up. This will always be straight. So now you can take it and move it up, you know, or over wherever you'd want to put it. But if you take a line off, now it's just aligned to the shape. So that can be a little, you know, sometimes it can be a little crazy, but I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, so let's go ahead and mirror this. So now he has two arms. I like the way that they look. I think they look pretty good. Let's go back to the little tube settings. I think I just want to push this arm up a bit. And I think that's pretty good. I might want to move this back to... There we go. I think that's not bad. So actually, I think we might be able to clone these to make the back legs. That'll probably be easier. So now we have a mirror because we mirrored one shape. And the tube is our leg. I'm just going to select both of these and clone it. And then go back to the red and rename that front legs. I guess it could be arms. And I'm going to rename this back legs. So now there's front legs and back legs. And I'm going to go to the tube on the back legs gizmo so we can move everything around. And I just want to move them straight back. So remember, if you try to use the gizmo now, it's not going to be straight unless you hit a line. And then you can just move it straight back. So now we just have to figure out what would be a good position for the legs. Now we can still hit tube and we can still adjust them, and maybe the opposite will work. Yeah, I think that actually works pretty good, pretty well, pretty good. I think that looks good. Maybe we'll make the bottom legs a little bit fatter. Maybe we'll move them up a little bit. That looks kind of cute. And maybe I want to bring these front legs in a little bit towards each other. So I just, you can tap on any of these meshes and you can edit those. So I'm on the front legs now. You can tap either one, but you're still in a mirror. So, you just bring them in and they'll both come in. Let's move them up a little bit. I'm going to go to the tube and I'm going to make this a little bit more like that. And maybe we want to add another node. That way we have a little more, we can move this in a little bit better. Let's see how that looks. I think that looks good. I think it looks good. All right, so I think I want to, let's move our whole, let's just leave it. I was going to move the whole thing up so it's like in the middle of our cylinder, but we'll deal with that later. We can always make the cylinder a bit bigger. Let's just make the cylinder a bit bigger for now. You can bring your grid back if you want, and you can kind of move this down below the blue line. It's blue now. Just to keep things interesting, I guess. So we have the head, but I still think we want to add like a neck. And maybe the head is around here. I think that feels right. So we have front legs, back legs, body. Let's take the head and clone it. And let's name this snoot. You can call it snout if you want to be, correct about it, but I prefer snoot. So now we just have to figure out where we want to put it. I think maybe around here, maybe a little bit smaller. Do we want to make it a little bit wider? Why not? Okay, I think that's pretty good. So let's take move. So for the head, I think I want to make sure symmetry is on. That way it drags like everything is equal. So let's drag this down. And maybe we'll push in a little bit here. So this is a good way to like kind of shape things. Just, pushing and pulling. Sort of like this. And you can push in from the side so that it's not so his head isn't too wide there. I think that's pretty good. And let's take the body now. Symmetry is still on, and we can pull all this up to kind of give him like a nice chest to kind of make like it's you know, that natural flow from the body to the head, like so. I think it's looking good. All right, so the body, I think I want to squeeze the body a little bit on the back, and his legs. I like his legs, but I'm gonna go Gizmo. I think I want to kind of bow them out a little bit, maybe, and maybe we'll make them a little bit smaller and put them a little lower. Oops. Let's go back to the leg, and now I want to use tube. I think I want to bring this into his body a little bit more. So we'll kind of bring it in, and maybe we want to add another node again. Yeah, so we add the other node, so that way the legs can sort of bend in. I think that's pretty good. All right, so the tail. So let's deal with the tail now. And I think I want to, actually, maybe it's better to use the tube tool for the tail. Tube tool. Let's use the tube tool. We can do some really amazing things now with these updates with the tube tool. Oh, I should save. Make sure you save often. So we're going to save as Gecko. Okay, so now he's saved. I was going to take the tail and use move, but I don't think we really have to do it this way. I mean, like, it's not bad, but you might have a little more control with the tube tool. So let's just take the tail and delete it. And let's go to tube, path. Okay, let's do the top view. So again, we'll start, maybe we want to do the tail kind of like wraps around a little bit. So I'm going to start here, drag, lift up, and then find another spot, move here, lift up, and then just follow all the way to the body, like so. Press the green, whoops, looks like it has a mirror. Let me make sure it's not, oh, what happened was we did it and we put it into a mirror. So let's just take this tube, drag it up, so it's by itself. And then it'll just be how it's supposed to be. So we can go ahead and hit radius. I'm just going to hit it once because obviously I want this part to be fatter, or thicker, I should say. So now we just have to bring this into the body. So we can bring it down so it's sort of like, you know, sort of in line with the rest of him. And I'm going to hit left so I can make sure that I bring these to the ground. Whoop. Be careful you don't have the red nodes touch each other because then they go away. So you might have to do a little bit of maneuvering, but I just want to make sure that this is touching the ground, that his tail is conforming with gravity. So I think something like that is good. And what's really great about this, I'm going to add another little node here just to get it nice and round. But if you want to get it nice and curly, use Spline, B-Spline. Then it's a little more curvy and nice. So we'll put that right in the middle. And let's see. So I think we want to make the bottom flat. So in order to do that, think about if we cut this cross section, like say we cut the tail, the cross section of the tail, that's what the profile is. So if we cut the tail and we were just looking at the base of the tail, that shape is your profile. So as soon as we hit this, this is the profile. It's a square. So that's why this is a square now, which actually isn't too bad. But we want to have this be a little bit more round. So if we tap these nodes, then the top you see, oh, actually that's the bottom. So there's two things we can do. We can either change this and we can tap these and then go like this to the bottom. Oh, I see what's happening. So however we did this, this part is round and that's supposed to be on the top. So let's just go back to how we had it, and I'll show you what's happening, because this might be a little confusing. So if I tap here and tap here, this is how the tail should be looking, but you can tell it's not. It's only because it's twisted. So if you hit twist and you take this pink twisty thing, then you can twist it so that the bottom is flat. So now the bottom is flat. And we can adjust this. For example, if we want the top to be maybe a little more not so round, but round, but not so round, like something like this. So you can adjust it as much as you want. But I think that looks pretty good. Okay. So the only thing now is that I don't think the tail is a little bit too low in the front. See how the tail is a bit low? So maybe we'll just shrink this a little bit. Move this up. That's a little bit better. I think that's a little bit better, because we'll eventually smooth all that out, but I think that's good. Also, some geckos like have the thicker tail, so we can hit radius again, bring up all these nodes, and if you wanted to, you can thicken the tail up. If you wanted to do that and make it like, you know, one of those geckos with the thicker tails. I kind of like that. Yeah, part of me just wants to make it a little higher like this. So we can fix some of that also once we validate it. So I think it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead. Let's see if we need to add some more geometry. Let's see if I do post. Yeah, I'm going to put this up to 1. And then let's validate it. Okay, I think that looks good. So as you can see, there's a lot of it that's like underneath, but that's okay. You can just use move. I'm going to make the move brush a little bit smaller. You can move this up a little bit and just sort of shape, you know, what you've made. So we want to stretch this out some. So you can kind of shape it as you need. I think that looks good. And I'm also going to trim it. Even though we can't really see the bottom right now, I'm going to trim it. So let's go to trim right here, rectangle. And then just make sure you can draw this white box. Everything in the white box will be trimmed. So I'm not doing it right on the tail. I'm doing it right underneath. Maybe like right there. Oh, see? That's still a little bit too much. So I'm going to trim it again, but I'm going to go a little bit lower. It's still doing that. So here's another secret weapon. Go here, multi-res, subdivide. So now we've given it a lot more geometry. So let's try that trim again. It's still doing it, but that's okay. We'll be able to smooth that out. Sometimes it just likes to be annoying. Okay, I think we're looking good. And what do we want to do with his head? Do we want to make his head extend in the back a little bit? We might want to. We can tap on that. We can use move, and we can kind of just extend his head out a little bit. I think that looks nice. All right. So now we can kind of figure out how we want his mouth to be. Let's use crease. And sometimes I like to kind of sketch and just see what we get. So we're using crease. The size is about 55 or so. We're using Symmetry. That's why you see these 2 dots. So what if his mouth was here? How would that look? I think that would actually look pretty cute. If you smiled, it would go up to there, and then we could add some little cheeks here. I think that would be cute. You could also do it like this. Nah, that looks less cute. You can make it a little bit lower. Okay, I think up here looked the cutest. I think that looked the cutest, so I'm going to keep that, I think. And go up a little bit. And for the eyes, let's use... So let's hit front. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Let's take mask. You can turn it down somewhat. Make sure symmetry's on. And we're on the head, so make sure you tap on the head. And we have to figure out where we want his eyes. So I think let's just make a shape like this. So we'll make something like this. So in the mask, go here, and you can invert. And then we'll take gizmo, and now we can sort of just move it. We'll move it in, maybe down a little bit, maybe make it a little bit smaller. So now we've just made like sort of like an eye socket. So go back to mask, back up here, and clear it. Okay, so now that we have that, let's make this smaller, because now it's a little bit too big. So I'm going to make this smaller and move it up. Even a little bit, maybe this is good. Maybe we want to make it skinnier here. I think I like that. But now the head might be looking up a little bit too much. I don't think I like that. But we can always adjust that a little bit later. But I think I like the way that this looks. I think I do. So let's go back to the body and use move. I'm going to make it smaller. So if this is the mouth, then this has to move up some. So I'm just going to use move and bring this up. Okay, that makes more sense. That it would be like this. So now let's use smooth, and we can just kind of smooth this out. Symmetry is on, so it's going to do both sides at the same time. I'm not going to press too hard because everything is a little bit soft. So I'm just going to smooth that out. And I think we need to subdivide it, which is add more geometry. So I'm going to go here, multi-res, subdivide. So now when I smooth, the clay is a little more set. Just want to smooth all this out. Okay, so as for this, let's see if we can smooth this a little bit, or maybe move it. It's a little round here. I think I want to sort of just push in and make it so it's kind of in line with, you know, the nose, this nose part coming down. Sort of like that. I think that works. Part of me wants to make his mouth open too. That's so much more work, but part of me does. Maybe I'll do that another time. Also, so let's go back to the head. Let's use clay. Make sure you don't have sub. Just make sure it's like this. Maybe you can make this a little bit bigger. And let's just add a little bit of mass above here. So just take your clay, just go back and forth, just adding a little bit of shape here. And you can take smooth, maybe make it a little bit bigger and just kind of smooth that out. Smooth everything out really, you know, a lot, so it keeps it nice and smooth looking and nice and clean. Okay, I'm going to do crease, and I'm going to go over this again. Like so. I might take clay on the head and just add some clay here to the cheeks. So I'm going to add some clay here. So this will sort of give them some cheeks. You can smooth them out. Okay, so at least now he has some chubby little cheeks, and you can add more or less. Another thing you can do, if you want more cheeks, if you want bigger cheeks, go back to our scene menu, hit add and sphere, use your gizmo, bring it up, bring it forward, shrink it with this orange ring. You gotta move it up in front so you can see it again. Move it over, shrink it, and then you can sort of put it where the cheek would be, kind of like this. Maybe you want to stretch it out a little bit. Whoop, not bigger, just stretch it. And then maybe take this green ring and do it so it's like moving back a little bit. So let's make it a little bit smaller and move it out. So essentially, you're just kind of giving them like really chubby cheeks like this, and you can hit mirror. Now you have them on both sides. If you validate, so the only thing you'd want to do now is sort of just move them so that they're not so, make sure you have some, actually you don't need symmetry. We don't need symmetry because our cheeks are in a mirror, so we don't need symmetry. We just want to pull them back and kind of make them a little more natural looking. Like this. I think that's good. So now let's take all of this and make it all one piece. So we'll take the cheeks, validate them. Let's rename them cheeks. So we have the head, the cheeks, just select all of these. We don't want the tube, we want the snoot. So these three, make sure you save before you validate, so save. Then we go here, voxel, remesh, but we want to bring this up to like maybe 175 and remesh. That's okay, okay. So now we have something like this. So take smooth, make sure symmetry's on. And you can smooth all of this out. Since now it's one piece, make sure you smooth these cheeks out nice and good. We'll kind of lose the mouth, but that's okay because we have to do that again anyway. Okay, so we'll do something like this. Just make sure it's nice and smooth. And once it's nice and smooth, let's go ahead and voxel remesh again. And just smooth a little bit more. Any parts that are a little bit chunky. Whoop, that's okay. Excuse me. So now we'll use our crease again. And let's just make this mouth part. So we want to start in the middle. We want to go out, down a little bit, and then up. And then we'll just repeat it so it gets a little bit thicker. And we can probably go down a little bit even. Like so. And the cheeks are a little bit puffy on the bottom. So I'm just going to take move and just kind of push them in a little bit. I'll make it smaller. And here too, they just kind of puff out a little bit too much. So I'm just going to push them in a bit. Use smooth and just kind of smooth that out. And you can even voxel remesh. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So whenever you want to get things smoother, like say I want to smooth this out more, if you voxel remesh lower, then you can smooth things out more, but you lose detail. But it's good when you want to keep things nice and smooth. I think we're okay now, because pretty soon we're gonna voxel remesh the head onto the body. So there's a few more opportunities to smooth this out and make it as smooth as we want. But I think we're okay now. The only thing that I'm wondering if I want to take the head with the gizmo and tilt it forward a little bit. Maybe, oops, maybe move it straight forward. So if we're looking at it at the front, he is looking up pretty high, but that's okay. He's going to be like a small little gecko. So I think that might be okay. The only thing I might want to do is bring the neck in a little bit. Again, since we did that. But part of me wants to maybe put the head up. I kind of want the head to be like this for now. So I'm going to take move and I'm just going to adjust this. I'll make the move tool bigger. I'm just going to adjust this because I kind of like it like this a little bit better. So I'm just going to adjust all this and kind of pull this down. You can pull the body up. Maybe even give him a little bit more of a chest. A lot of times I like to just move it around and just see what I like and what I don't like. He has a bit of a turtle head. I'm not really feeling that. It looks a little bit better when I pull this part up. I think it looks a little bit better. I think. Let's see if we can pull this down a little bit. Sometimes you just have to find the right, the right everything, really, I guess. Okay, I don't mind this too much. Because also I might adjust it a little bit more. But I think this is okay for now. Let's bring everything together. So let's save. So the legs and the tail and all that stuff, I think we should just bring all that together. Everything except for the head. So where's the head? So the snoot is now the head. So let's rename that head. Oh no, my computer's restarting again. Okay, I think I want to make his head a little wider. I think his head is too skinny. So I'm just using move. And let's just kind of like widen him out a bit. The head too. Let's like widen the head. Let's make his head like just less human. Let's take this and kind of just widen this too. Well, let's make it a little bit smaller. When you use move, sometimes it tries to move everything. But I think I just want to make this wide as well. Just keep widening the head out a little bit. Let's give him a wider head. He still kind of looks like a turtle, but I actually don't mind that much. I do like turtles. And part of me still wants his mouth to be a little bit open, but I don't know, that's going to be a little bit difficult. Okay, so the only thing that I'm thinking is I might want to move one of the legs like independently. So everything is not... Ooh, I have an easy way to do that. Let's take Gizmo, and so let's rotate. Whoops. Let's see, what's the best way to do this? Okay, let's validate these. So we validated the front legs. Now let's oh, it's still not rotating the correct way. Let's take a look. Oh, so we just validated the tube. So let's grab both of these front legs and validate. So you have to make sure that you grab the tube and this red front legs and hit validate, join children. Now we should be able to rotate them and they'll be like in a different position, a slightly different position, which is what I want. So now that they're one piece, I can even move this up a little bit more. So we'll take this leg and just kind of move it up a little bit. So I think that's good. I don't want it to be too symmetrical. Okay, so I want to put some little skin folds. So let's use Inflate. Inflate's one of my favorite tools. I say that all the time. So now I'm on the body, and I'm going to start a little bit under the leg, but we're still on the body. But we can make these wonderful little skin folds like this. Then you can take smooth and you can kind of smooth them out. And they look pretty natural. I love them. So I'm going to start up here on the body, but I'm going to turn symmetry off because the arms are in different positions. So now I'm just going to do the same thing. Oh, I'm on. Go back to inflate. So now I'll do the same thing and just inflate here like that. And then we'll go to the other side and we can inflate here as well. So now he has these little thingies. And I want to see, I don't know if this is going to work, but I just want to see what this would look like if this is straight instead of like flat. Let me bring this down a little bit. I'm going to bring this little area out, just kind of see what that looks like. Okay, I kind of like it. Okay, so for eyes, do we want to do eyes open or eyes closed? That is the question. So this tube is the tail. So let's name that tail. We have back legs. The back legs are good. I'm going to go ahead and validate those. Save. So let's add some spheres. We'll use Gizmo. We'll bring it up, forward, shrink it with the orange ring. Now we'll move back, mirror, and then use the arrow to move them to their separate places. So maybe something like this. Maybe we can move it up a tiny bit. Let's validate that and let's use move. And let's stretch the eye this way. Maybe we can stretch it up too. I'm just kind of pushing it so it's not sticking out so much. I kind of like that. Okay, so now I tapped on the head. I want to use drag, and I want to try to work this smile out. So we're using drag, maybe around 150, and I want to push up on these like dimples. So I want to push in and up to kind of make the smile a little more smilish. And I still have questions about the head. I'm not sure what shape I want the head to be. Let's see if we can find a nice shape for the head. I kind of like that. Kind of elongated and round. I kind of like that. I think I'll take that. So for the eyes, I think I want to make them closed. So what we'll do is we'll just use tube. It'll be so easy to make them open though. Maybe we'll do one open and one closed. So let's use tube with path. Actually, let's try curve since we haven't done that. So we're using the path. Let's go ahead and hit snap. What snap does is it snaps it to the nearest surface. So now we're using curve. Let's start around, oh, doesn't really matter where as long as we're on the tube tool. Let's start around here and we'll just make a nice curve to like the far middle of our eye. So something like that. I think that's good. So now for this side, I think I want to start here and just draw right along that edge to about here. Let's hit spline. On this one, let's hit spline. All right, I think these look great. I'm going to move this node so they're a little more even. And I'm going to move this one to the edge. So now let's do radius. We're going to do this on, whoops, we're going to do this on both of them. Let's make this side thicker. And this one too, so we'll hit radius. I'm going to move this one back a little bit. And we'll make this side thicker. Okay, and this side thinner. And I'm going to add a node here. So that's going to make it a little easier to kind of hide this edge. So what we need to do first is turn off snap. Oh, looks like it's still there, even though that's the same. Oh, maybe this is just the menu, so that's fine. As long as you turn it off here. So now we'll just take this node and let's just hide it. So now that we turn snap off, we can put it into the mesh. So we'll just kind of hide it so it's nice and seamless. Move this node. And here's another little stylistic thing I like to do. I'm going to take this one and tap on it, and then I'm going to bend this out. I'm going to make another node here. Oh, actually, let's see if I can. Oh yeah, that works. So I'm going to tap it again. We still maintain this curve, but now what we can do is make this smaller and this bigger. And I'm going to curve this up a little bit. Make this fatter. So now we have like a little wingtip, and I just like to do that. It's very stylistic. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm actually going to add a node. I'll pull this one out, tap on that so it's like a hard edge instead. Oh, so first let's make sure that we're still on 2, so let's make this side smaller. I'm going to add another node. And this one I'm just going to bring into the body. Oh, we got to turn snap off. Forgot this is a different side. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to kind of get it where you want, so just kind of move the mesh around a little bit until it's nice and buried in there. Okay, that looks good. We'll make this side a little bit bigger. So now let's hit radius again. That way we have control of all the nodes. Let's bring it out and add a node. And then we can make this smaller. We'll just move it up. Make this a little bigger, this a little bigger, this a little smaller. So then we have this little nice little tip at the end. Very stylistic thing that I like to do. Oh, you know what else? Geckos usually have longer snouts. I think that's what it is. So I really like these, so I'm going to validate both of them. So now they're validated. This eye is closed. This eye is up. So another thing I'm going to do is tap on the head. Move. I'm going to turn symmetry off. I'm going to make move pretty small. And I'm actually going to raise this up a little bit. And this one I'm going to actually push down a little bit. Okay, I like that. I'm going to take flatten, and I'm going to flatten here. There you go. So that's nice and flattened. Nice flattened eye socket. Okay. And I'll do the same thing here underneath a little bit. I'll just flatten this out. See, it creates that nice smooth planes underneath. And now we'll just want to smooth it out. Okay, I think that looks great. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with him. I want to save. Let's save. So now we have the head. Oh, what is this? So this is, let's label this stuff so we don't get confused. Make sure you hit the mirror last. So we'll validate that. Join children. So these are going to be eyes. Although one's open and one's closed, that's okay. So the tail I'm going to bring down to the body. So front legs, back legs, body, tail. What are these tubes? Oh, I think these are the eyelashes. I'm going to save again because I'm neurotic. So all of these, I'm going to voxel remesh together. So let's go here, voxel, and we'll remesh together. I'm going to remesh it at like 350 because I don't want to lose too much detail. So I'll remesh. Oop, and I'm seeing some issues. So the legs, we need to add more geometry to. So let's take the legs, subdivide them twice. This leg, subdivide, subdivide. So now it should be better. So we'll do front legs, back legs, body, tail, and we'll voxel remesh around 350 or so. Okay, so that's much better. So now we can smooth this out. The symmetry's all crazy, so symmetry's gone for now. But we can smooth the tail into the body, all the stuff into the body. Just be careful. Try to save that really nice. Oh, you know what? Part of me wants to do something else. Let's undo. Let's undo. The subdividing of the back legs is good. We can keep that. But let's undo till right before we added them together. So you'll see all these 4 pieces. Let's undo there. And let's uncheck the legs. Let's just do the body and the tail. So now we'll just go back and voxel remesh that. We can do it around 350 again. So now when we smooth this out, we'll do the same thing, but we have some freedom now because we're not worried about the legs, you know, adhering to the body. So there's that nice separation. So we can smooth all that out, but it still has that really nice separation from the body. So let's smooth this tail out. Let's make this big and smooth the tail out. Might have to use flatten. Sometimes you have to use some other tools. So I'm going to use flatten to kind of flatten out this tail a bit. And then use smooth. And it's being a little, when it's not being good, this is a shortcut for voxel remeshing. It's the same as when I voxel remesh up there. So let's voxel remesh it lower at like 130. See, we lose some of that detail, but I think I'm willing to because I want to make this tail nice and smooth. So I'm willing to lose a little bit of that detail, unfortunately. I want to use flatten on this tail. This is a little bit too like, so I'm just using flatten, and I think I want to move this down. So I'm just taking move. This needs to be a little bit closer to the ground here, I think. Okay, that feels a bit better to me. Pull it down here too. So that seems a bit better. I think the flatten tool helps this over here, but I'll just smooth it. So we just want to keep it nice and smooth. Actually, let's go ahead and voxel remesh it back higher again. So I'm going to save. I'll go up here because I don't want to confuse you with my shortcut. Voxel, and we'll bring it back up to like 250, and then we'll remesh. And if you want to go back over, you can always go back over these details. Just use inflate, and you can inflate again. Well, that was a serious inflate. But you can smooth it out so it's not so dramatic. So you can do things like that too. We lost some detail here. So I'm just going to inflate, maybe not as crazy as I did the other leg. And then just smooth it out a little bit. Okay. I think that works. I'm going to move the tail down a little bit. Just so it's a little more into the ground. Okay. And you can adjust the shape as you need. Okay. All right, so let's add some little feet. Finish this off real quick. So let's add, oh, actually, there's another way to do it. There's an easier way. Let's use inflate. So we're using inflate again. Let's make inflate a little bit more intense. Doesn't have to be that big. So now on the legs, I'm just going to inflate like this. So we'll make 1, 2, maybe 3. I don't know how many or where I want to put his little toes. You can do 2, maybe if you only want 2 toes. Or you can just do, let's make him a little smaller. You know, you can make as many toes as you want. Or, you know what'll be better? I know, I get like a little too excited about this stuff. Let's just make them like little like nub toes. Yeah, I think I just want to do like 3. This one I'll do them a little bit closer to the front. Just like little nub toes. The back ones, maybe I'll make sort of like that. I kind of want to make another one. Let's hide these arms. So let's go here, hit this little eye so we can hide them. That way we can see our back legs. So add another little toe there. So now we can unhide them. And here's his little toes. So let's take these 2 legs and let's join them together. So now they're just legs. Let's save. And let's go ahead and subdivide them. So we'll go multi-res and subdivide. So let's hit left. So we need to trim these feet because they're looking crazy underneath here. See, they're looking crazy. So we'll go to trim, tap the legs, and we'll make a rectangle right below the feet, and we'll trim. I'm going to save again because I want to voxel remesh now. So now I'm going to voxel remesh. And sometimes I only voxel remesh. Sometimes I do the multi-red. Sometimes I do the subdivide. And honestly, I don't know why. Sometimes I just sort of get a sense of which one to do. It's not like an exact science. Sometimes I'll do both and see which works better for, whatever I need it for. So I just have to be honest about that. Like, it's not like I'm using some formula. It's just that sometimes I'll do one thing and sometimes I'll do another. Just gotta like feel it out sometimes. So you might want to use drag, and if you want to pull one of the toes out, or just kind of make sure that they look good. Make sure they look like they're all like resting on the ground. You don't want them to look like they're floating at all. This one I can make this small and like pull this out a little bit. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so for the head, I think this is like a good pose for him. So we have the eyes, the head, and the eyelashes. So let's see how I want to position the head. So it'd be kind of nice if he was turned. Maybe if his head was turned a little bit like this. I think that's cute. So now that we have that, we can tap on the head and use move, and we can just sort of fix a little bit of this. Again, symmetry is off because it's not symmetrical, but we can just sort of fix this. And the fact that we turned his head like this, I'm going to add a skin fold here. So I'm going to go to inflate. I'm going to do it on the head so it doesn't blend into that too much. So I'm going to do a nice skin fold right here. Actually, yeah, that one wasn't that nice. And maybe another one here. Let's see how they look when I kind of smooth them out. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so I think that looks good. So I'm happy to merge the head, but I'm going to save first. So now we have the head, excuse me, and the tail. The tail's the body and the head. So now I'm going to voxel remesh those together fairly high. So let's do 350. Okay, so now these are together so we can smooth out all these creases. You can even smooth out these cheeks, maybe make the cheeks a little more subtle, which is what I was talking about earlier. Okay, so now those are much better. And this looks okay, but we're gonna have to redo that. Actually, it's okay. The only thing I might do is use crease. Actually, let's use inflate. Pretty small. And let's maybe a little bit bigger than that. So I want to add in that same inflate. Maybe even here. Smooth them. So I'll smooth them again. And then I'll use crease. Like so. And maybe I'll add one here just because it just kind of feels right. When I was doing that crease, it felt like, you know, the body, that's how the body would, that's how the skin would go, you know? So a lot of it is just like kind of feeling it out and seeing how you think the skin would move. This looks a little crazy, so I'm going to smooth it out a little bit more. Let's make that very subtle. Let's try clay instead, because the move is just a little bit too... Yeah, let's try clay. Smooth this out. That might be a little bit better. Yeah, that might be a little better. It's pretty subtle. Okay, let's redo the mouth. Symmetry is off this time, so you kind of have to bring out your drawing skills. But it's nice when you already have the, you know, the line there, you can kind of just trace it. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm pretty happy with all of this. So let's just give him an eye here. So let's, where's his eyes? Let's add a sphere. We'll use our gizmo to move it up and move it forward. Shrinky poo. So this is going to be his sole pupil, because the other eye is closed. So we'll move it in. That actually looks good. I might not have to shrink it. It kind of looks nice as is. Maybe I'll shrink it a little bit. And the reason I'm doing that is just so it's a little bit more flat. But it's also a little harder to manage because now you have to sort of make sure it's just on the surface. So there's pros and cons of making it flatter. But it'll take some maneuvering, but you just want to make it so it's round. It just wants to be round on the surface. So it's a little tricky, but hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing. That's pretty round. So if this is like the, maybe it wants to be, like in the middle of the eye instead. You can use the little orange bit in the middle. It kind of just moves. It's like it kind of moves it freely. I don't know if you can see that, but right in the middle of the gizmo is a little tiny round dot, and you can just move it freely. Also, let's say I want to move it directly into the eye and these arrows aren't pointing that way. You can hit pivot. So now when you have pivot, you have to turn a line off, make sure a line is not on, and you'll get this. So then you can move this around as you need it. Like if I wanted to go straight back like that, turn pivot off, and now I can move it straight back. So there's so that's very helpful when you're using pivot. Oh, I think that might be better. I do feel like I want it looking to camera though. These minor details sometimes like wind up taking me forever to do anything. Oh, I think I like that. I think I like that. Okay, so extra credit. Let's add a layer to the tail. And let's try this. So let's take crease and let's try drawing a crease all the way down here, make it wider here, and then make it go underneath the leg like that. Let's see how that looks. So let's do the same thing here. Kind of out a little bit, in a little bit there, out, and then right under his leg, like so. I kind of like it. Let's hit solo. So now we can only see, what we've done here. Let's unsolo. It might be better to see. Let's turn off the floor. Oh, the legs are all together. Oh, maybe we'll do it like this. So we're still on the body. And maybe we want to just make like a little round here with the crease. Maybe a little round here. This is totally just extra credit. And it kind of goes to the tail, so we don't really have to do anything with the tail. We can kind of end it there. Bring back the floor. So that way if we want, we can color the underside a different color if we like that. If you don't like it, I think you can just hide that and get rid of it. The power of layers. Okay, I just want this to be a little bit more. I get so crazy with it. I'm gonna use pivot and just turn it a little bit because I just want it to be a little more level. So I'll just turn it back a little bit, just so it's a little more level. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay. So I'm going to come back and do another tutorial where I color this guy. I think I'm going to end this here, but let's go ahead and light him. You can color him any way you want, but at least we did the sculpt. So let's go up here and do lit PBR. And I like to do like that nice terracotta color. So I'm going to take everything. I'm going to select everything from the scene. I'm going to go here. And yeah, so I just do a color like this. Paint all. I like that. Let's save. And I think I like this view. He looks really cute there. So just find a cute view. Press your camera and do add view. And let's name this 1. Let's do perspective. I think I like that even better. So then we'll do add view again, but we'll name this 2. So now you have both, and it'll go back and forth from one to the other. Okay, I'll keep it on the perspective 1 for now. So now let's go here. This is my custom environment. You can download it on my website if you want, joyfreedave.com. And actually it's on my gum road. So let's turn this off, and then we'll add a light. Let's turn the intensity up a little bit. Let's go here and name it key. Okay. Then we go here, and I like softness, so this is just going to soften up the shadows. So now let's clone this one. And let's take the arrow and move it over here. And let's swing it around so it's lighting up the side that was in shadow, but we'll turn the intensity down. We still want that shadow, we just want to fill it a little bit. So we'll go back to the lights, and we'll rename this one Fill. So now we'll clone this one, we'll rename this one Rim. Okay. And we'll make it a spotlight. So now we'll move it back over a little bit, and then we'll try to swing it around. I'm going to move the gizmo so it'll make it easier to swing. So we'll swing it around on them like this, so that when you go back, let's go to our view, let's go to number 2. We can still move the light around until we get, I'm going to rotate it. So, all these other things always get in the way when I'm trying to just rotate it. So now we'll rotate it. We can make this a little bit brighter. Maybe move it up some so it's not so much on the ground. There we go. Maybe we'll move it out a little bit so you get to see a nice white rim right here. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to save. So now we'll go and let's duplicate that. We'll call this TD for top down. And for this one, sometimes I like to, you can turn on light icons if you want to see them all. So I'm going to go to this new one, TD, and drag this over. And we can put it right over top of his head or anywhere. This is kind of just going to light up the other side of our little character. I think I'll put it on the side, maybe on the back. And just angle it on him. Maybe a little bit further up. So maybe something like this. Put the intensity down some, doesn't need to be that bright. So I think something like that is good. There we go. So that looks nice. Maybe we'll make this light cool. So we'll make it like a bluish, a little different. Okay, so now let's turn on our environment, but let's turn it down. Turn it way down like this. And now let's go here to this little shutter, and we'll do post-process. And you can adjust these. This is my own one that I saved, but you can see all my settings. If you want to put them close to the same, just pause. Something like this. I like a little grain. But now that you have this, you might have to light it again to see what you like. Take a look at things, you know, with the environment, without. You might want to make it a little bit darker. Check out your key. Just check out your lights, because you might want to, you know, darken them up or lighten them. So it's good to just see what the lights are doing. Maybe we'll turn this down a smidge. The rim is good. Let's go to our view though. So let's go to 2. That looks good. Yeah, and this looks good too. It kind of lightens up his area that wasn't. I'm going to turn the grid off. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I really like it. I think it looks fun. So there you go. This was a really fun character. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you learned a lot. Let me know. And hopefully you guys post this on social media. I'd love to see how you color it. I'll probably color it when I'm on vacation, which I'm going to in the morning. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this guy, so we'll call it quits. And of course, if you want to export, just make sure you save first, and then you just you can go here, just scroll down to render, and then you can render it at different sizes, you know, whatever size you want. Just be careful, if you have a transparent background, it's not going to render the background. I don't think I need that. Actually, it's fine, because I'm probably gonna, I have to send this to make the thumbnail, so I'm not gonna, I'll use the background on Photoshop. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. And also, before you send it, make sure that all these bells and whistles are up as high as they can go. Well, not this, I keep this at 500, but you just want to make sure that you have everything set up before you export. And then you go here, and I think screen is good. I'm going to move them up a little bit so that this whole cylinder is showing. If I even want the cylinder, I don't even know if I want the whole cylinder. It might be better for me to kind of make it a little smaller for him. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. So I'll make that a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to save this view as well, because why not? So this will be 3. Okay, so now I'll save, since I added that new background. Ooh, there's one more thing that I didn't do. I almost forgot. So I'm going to take the tail, the legs, and I'm going to make them subsurface. And then I'm going to turn this down. So this is just going to make subsurface. Oh, I love it. It just makes everything look so much more realistic. I absolutely love subsurface. So I'm going to put it down to like there. I also forgot to smooth these. Just forgetting everything. I forgot to smooth these out. So that they're like a lot cleaner. It's a little bit better. Make sure you tap on the mesh you're working on. So I'll just smooth this out a bit. And let's take, oh, the eyes. So let's go here and let's do separate. So now let's take this eye. We'll go back to our color and we'll turn down the roughness. So now it'll be glossy. Although I feel like you can't really see the difference. Did it go glossy? Or am I losing my mind? It's gotta be, right? Yeah, okay. I guess you can't just see it. So I'm gonna do this. For this eye, I'm gonna make this a little bit darker. And glossy as well. And then I'm going to do the eyebrows the same, but I'm going to turn the roughness up. Paint. So now that I have that color, I'm going to do the same thing with this. Paint. So now there's that little bit of difference that I think will make a big difference. Okay, all this is on. Let's go to our last view. Save. You can also do this as subsurface too. Let's make it a little more realistic. Save. Okay. And you could do the eyebrows too, but I don't think we need to. I think that's good. So now I'm going to export screen, but it'll really just be him because I have transparent background. So I export that. All right, so I think that's it. Keep drawing, keep sculpting. I'll see you all in the next video.